Have you thought about moving to Lubbock, Texas, but you have heard that there's a smaller subdivision or suburb on the outskirts of Lubbock that's more of a small town feel? Well, that suburb is named Wolfforth. And a lot of people kind of look at me when I say, how do you say it again? Well, it is pronounced Wolfforth, spelled Wolfforth. And Wolfforth is just southwest of Lubbock, not very far from Lubbock. It is a small town that features small town living, but with big city amenities because it is so close to Lubbock. When I say close, I mean like right on the outskirts of Lubbock. It kind of starts between west of Upland and 82nd Street and West 82nd Street. And so if you want that small town living, you don't want a ton of people, but you want the convenience of being super close to a bigger city like Lubbock, well then this suburb of Lubbock might be exactly what you are looking for. Well, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the pros and the cons of living in Wolfforth, Texas, and we're going to get after it right now. Hey, I'm Sam Riddle, and if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Lubbock, Texas, well then be sure to tap that bell and hit that subscribe button so that you can be the first to know about all things living in Lubbock, Texas. I get calls, texts, emails every single day from people just like you looking to make their move to Lubbock, Texas, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or schedule a Zoom call, and I would love the opportunity to serve you and your family as you make your move to Lubbock, Texas. And so as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons, the good and the bad of living in Wolfforth, Texas. So Wolfforth, Texas is one of the fastest growing small towns here in Texas. As of the 2021 census, there was about 6,000 people that lived in Wolfforth. And as of today, there's a little over 7,000 people that live there. And so that might not be a lot to you because it's not a big number. However, like I mentioned before, it is super close to Lubbock. Wolfforth is actually only 3 miles long. 3. That's it. And then you go and get into Lubbock or the neighboring town of Ropesville. However, living in Wolfforth, Texas definitely has its pros. And number one that I wanted to talk about is Wolfforth, Texas definitely has its pros. And the first pro that I wanted to talk about today is it has a small town feel. A lot of people want to get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life or big communities and just want to come home, relax, and not have to hear horns honking or the highway right behind them. Well, in Wolfforth, Texas, it is exactly that. It is a small town with big city amenities close to Lubbock. So if you are looking to be close to your neighbor, if you are wanting to know everybody in your neighborhood, that is one thing that I love about Wolfforth is that the neighborhoods do make you feel like you are a part of a sense of a community. There are always things to do in the community. There are tons of things going on. There's Facebook groups for each neighborhood. I mean, not to mention, I'll talk about this in a second, but the growth is unbelievable in Wolfforth. And so that's pretty awesome. And not to mention the small town feel is, you might think, oh, there's not going to be anybody that I can hang out with, or, you know, is there going to be any kids there? Well, as of right now, Wolfforth's median age is around 30 to 35. And so there's a really young population moving into Wolfforth and just growing up that city. Tons of kids that are moving in there because of the school districts. That is something that I'm going to get to in a second. But a lot of people love it due to the fact that it's growing in the school districts. Also too, there is a Wolfforth Farmers Market that I have to touch on. Wolfforth Farmers Market happens every Saturday. It's one of the biggest farmers markets in Lubbock. It's right next to Friendship High School. And so if you're looking for goods, local goods, produce, products, really whatever you're looking for, the farmers market has it. I've been a few times. It's so fun to see just the local community get out. And I have mentioned this before about Lubbock, but people are just friendly. And so if you just want to go out, take the kids out, walk around the farmers market, you're gonna meet a ton of people. You're gonna meet a ton of vendors that have things from soap to honey to produce, cucumbers, apples, whatever, you name it, you'll be able to find it at the Wolfforth Farmers Market. The second pro that I wanted to talk about is the schools in Wolfforth. And so the schools in Wolfforth, if you have watched the other video where I talked about the different schools in Lubbock, you may have noticed that I talked a lot about Friendship ISD. So in Wolfforth, there's only one school district, it's Friendship ISD. And Friendship ISD, there are 14 schools. There are 2 high schools, 4 middle schools, and 8 elementary schools. And out of those schools, I have talked about where on the map do the Lubbock public schools rank. Now, since Wolfforth is in the county of Lubbock, the school districts, as in Friendship, they do count as public schools in Lubbock. So they are a factor in consideration for people that do live in Lubbock. And so I ranked the top public schools, and out of the top 3 elementary schools, all 3 elementary schools are actually in Friendship ISD in Wolfforth. So that's pretty huge. They have an amazing school system. And out of the top 3 middle schools, 2 are in Friendship ISD. And out of the high schools, there's really 3 main high schools, Lubbock, Friendship, and Cooper. One of them, Friendship ISD or Friendship High School, is in Wolfforth. So I wanted to touch on the schools because I know that if you are planning on moving to Lubbock or Wolfforth, schools are a big factor in deciding on where you're going to be living and what neighborhood you want to be in. And so I wanted to touch on the schools so that you knew that you had an option to live also in Wolfforth. And have that small town feel for you and the kiddos, not have a big sense of community or listen to the city honking of the horns and whatnot. But it is a great area if you do want to go to one of the top rated schools here in Wolfforth or Lubbock. And number 3, the third pro that I wanted to talk about is the growth of Wolfforth. It is growing at a crazy rate, 7.88% growth year over year. And that's awesome to see, especially here in Lubbock. I think one of the major factors that has to do with a lot of the growth here in Wolfforth is all of the new construction. I've talked about how much Lubbock has grown. Lubbock has grown south and southwest. Well, that's exactly what Wolfforth is. And so sometimes the homes that have been built in Wolfforth are on the border between Lubbock and Wolfforth. And so it becomes so popular because you're super close to 6282, which runs directly through Lubbock into Wolfforth, which you can take to get to the west end where Target, Sam's, Best Buy's also in a similar shopping area, but just a little bit further down. So you are literally minutes. You just hop on Loop 6282, and you can get to all the shopping centers that you need to get to in Lubbock. And that's where a majority of the people are going to be shopping. And so builders are building homes. You can get a home from around $250,000 all the way up to $1 million, if not more. These homes are beautifully gorgeous, beautifully constructed, gorgeous homes by some of Lubbock's top builders here in town. And they are just really encompasses West Texas. If you're wanting something that's a little bit on the lower end, 250 to 350. There's some great neighborhoods for that in Wolfforth that are going to be newer construction, all maybe built in 2017, 2016, 18, 19, 20. There's a ton of growth that's happening there. And then also too, if you're looking for luxury, there are some beautiful homes. And I've talked about the Parade of Homes before, but there is a Parade of Homes tour that does happen in some of those neighborhoods, a big neighborhood or a big subdivision that is booming right now is Preston Hollow. Preston Hollow is a phenomenal neighborhood that just has a really big sense of community. That's one of the neighborhoods that I mentioned that has fireworks or golf cart rides. You can really just go to the pet park. You can go, there's tons of green space. It's a beautiful neighborhood. And so the growth in Lubbock is just, in Wolfforth and in Lubbock, it's just kind of pushed towards Wolfforth because as of right now, that's where it's growing. Lubbock has kind of expanded into Wolfforth because of how much it is growing, which is great for Wolfforth and everybody that lives there, especially the kiddos, the school district. It's awesome. And so now I wanted to get into the cons of living in Wolfforth, Texas, so that you can kind of see, if Wolfforth is right for you or not. Number one, the biggest con that I hear about people that move here that want to live in Lubbock or Wolfforth, that they don't understand why, is there is not an actual grocery store in Wolfforth city limits. Don't ask me why. That's a huge question for a lot of us residents in Lubbock because we don't understand why there's not a grocery store in Wolfforth. And as a realtor, I get that question a lot from clients because they want a grocery store close by, and I don't blame them, However, with it being so close to Lubbock, H-E-B is a 12 to 13 minute drive. And if you're coming from a bigger city, 12 to 13 minutes might be your average commute to the grocery store as of now anyway. But I wanted to touch on that. If you can get to a Market Street or United, which is local to West Texas, or Walmart within 10 minutes. So they're not far. You don't have to drive 30 minutes to a grocery store like in some small towns. But it is kind of weird that in the city of Wolfforth, there is not a grocery store. So just want to point that out. And number two is the commute into Lubbock. Again, 10 to 15 minutes depending on where you're going, because a lot of the stuff that you would take advantage of, shopping, restaurants, local businesses, going out to any local bars or anything, a lot of that is going to be in Lubbock. And so if you do live in Wolfforth, you will have to commute to some of those places. Again, not very far, but if you want something that's a little bit close to home and you're not wanting to drive a ton and you just want to take the kids out to a family dinner, well, maybe living in the city of Lubbock might be a little bit better for you where it's close to a lot of that hustle and bustle, because in Wolfforth, you're not gonna have a ton of it. You do, however, don't get me wrong, there's a ton of amazing local businesses that are in Wolfforth. Amazing. I mean, you cannot go wrong still with any of the local businesses there, but a lot of the main chains like the grocery stores or the restaurants are going to be in the city of Lubbock. I did mention Milwaukee is one of the major new roads that's in Lubbock, and Milwaukee is only about 2 miles from Wolfforth. So really it's not that far. You can take 6282 or you can take 82nd onto Milwaukee, and it's not far at all. So there is kind of a pro to that if you want to be a little bit further away from the city, but also commute into the city whenever you need to. And number three is Wolfforth is going to have a higher tax rate. It only has one school district, like I mentioned, which is Friendship ISD. And so you are gonna have a little bit of a higher tax rate than you were to say in Lubbock ISD. Now, I have talked about kind of the tax rates before. And even if you are in Lubbock city limits, you also could be in Friendship ISD, which I have talked about with the schools. And so you are still paying the Friendship ISD taxes. And so Friendship ISD is going to be is going to be the highest tax rate as of right now in Lubbock. So if you do not have any kiddos and you still want to be in Lubbock, but you wanted that small town feel, there are some other options in the city of Lubbock that we can kind of find you if you want to avoid paying those higher taxes. Also too, with the higher taxes, there are tons of smaller area towns around Lubbock that I'll mention that have tax rates way lower than Lubbock. So if you do want that small town community feel, super close to Lubbock, not as close as Wolfforth, but a little bit further away, there are other options for you that I'd love to tell you about, because Lubbock is just so great with West Texas. Lubbock, is a bigger city. It does have a lot of the big city amenities. And if you do like that small town feel, then you also have that here, which I fell in love with. I came from a bigger city, from Austin, and it's huge. It takes me 20 minutes just to get to the mall or to the store, and so I love having that sense of community here. I love being close-knit community, but also still having a lot of the same amenities that Austin does have. So, to sum it up, if you want to live in a small town that's growing rapidly with new construction homes, well then Wolfforth might be the perfect place for you to explore so that you can really get a feel for what the difference between Wolfforth and Lubbock is. I would love to show you around Wolfforth and get you out and have some feet on the ground and show you some properties out there. So if you have any questions about Wolfforth or any of the subdivisions in Wolfforth, I'd love to discuss those with you. And until next time, I'll see you around.